Thank you for your interest in taking part in this trial. I'm now going to ask you a series of questions. Some of them are personal, but most of them are hypothetical. If you don't feel comfortable answering any one of the questions, just say you prefer to pass and we'll move on. I'd like you to imagine that you've been put under the anaesthetic and are now asleep. Close your eyes. Don't be alarmed, but an actress is going to lie down on the bed beside you. Another actress is going to sit on the chair next to the bed. You're perfectly safe. I'd like you to imagine that 3 days have passed and you're waking up from a surgery. Open your eyes.
How do you feel?
Fine.
We've assessed your kidneys and found them to be perfectly healthy. But there was an error during the trial, and your medical data was accidentally uploaded to the living donor database. Nina Godiva, a famous violinist, has been in a critical condition since suffering from organ failure, and your organs were found to perfectly match hers. A medical body has reviewed the data and found that in order to keep Nina alive, your body could be used to support her. You have been moved to a specialist hospital, and her circulatory system has been attached to yours. Your kidneys are currently filtering her blood as well as your own. We are very sorry this has happened. It is all very unfortunate. But as it has happened, Nina is now reliant on you to survive. She is and will continue to be unconscious. To ensure Nina survives, you would need to support her for that 10 months. Until then, she cannot survive on her own. To unplug yourself from her would be to kill her. Because of the error, the board have agreed that you should have the option whether to remain connected to Nina. I'll give you some time to consider.
Sure.
How do you feel right now?
Confused. Confused.
There's a lot to consider. Could you sort of talk me through your thoughts?
Well, immediate thought was, I mean, obviously, can I do it? You know, what kind of disruption would it have on my life as it already is?
My immediate response is disconnect me. I didn't ask for this. This wasn't part of what I signed up for. And I have no responsibility to her. I have responsibility to other people in my life. 10 months is a long time to be out of commission for other people who are around me, right?
It's not my place to kill someone for, like, selfish reasons. Yeah.
You think that disconnecting yourself from her would be selfish?
Yeah, of course. Because I'm killing her. And for my own, benefit. So, yeah, of course it's selfish.
How do you think that supporting you might affect your finances?
Well, I'm pretty sure I'd lose my job. I do have a mortgage, so that is something to consider.
Since I don't have short-term disability insurance, and I am self-employed and I run my own company and I am the primary breadwinner in the relationship, it would significantly cause problems. Yeah, I'd have 10 months without income.
How do you think that if you were to support her, it might affect your plans for the year?
Well, it would destroy all of them. There is practically nothing I can do from here, except perhaps practice art using an iPad. and my musculature will atrophy. I'll become unfit.
I have this plan of being an actor, on moving to London. What about that?
How might it affect your vision for yourself in 5 years?
My 5-year plan? Yeah, I mean, 10 months, no income, not being paid, and it puts the kibosh on my short-term retirement plans, that's for sure.
Do you have any medical concerns regarding your connection to her?
Yes, I've not really been told much about what's going on with me, other than the focus has been on her. I've got 1,000 questions about how am I? Am I really safe? Am I really safe?
What about if you began to experience some health issues? Your organs might be working too hard to support two bodies. How do you think that might affect your decision?
I think the minute I begin experiencing issues, I'm going to be thinking about detaching.
Yeah, that would obviously affect it.
How do you think it might affect it?
Well, I don't want to die. So, I know it sounds selfish, but I would like to make 50 would be nice, wouldn't it?
I'd like you to imagine that Nina is a Catholic and a priest, a fan of hers, comes to the hospital to pray for her. After he's finished praying, he sits beside you, says he understands that you haven't been given a difficult decision, but Nina is a great musician. She has the potential to play beautiful music for the rest of her life. He tells you that God has blessed you with the ability to give Nina a gift. Finally, he urges you to do the right thing and support Nina until she can live independently. What would you say in response?
Well, as an atheist, I would say there is no God, so don't give me that crap. I just doesn't happen. Would make no difference whatsoever. And to play the religion card with me would backfire.
I think I'd be in a pretty bad mood, like all year round. So I think I would just tell the priest, like, respectfully, like, not for me, mate. Sorry, like, I'm not filtering in like religious ideas into this whole situation. Please, like, just don't talk to me about that. You know, I wouldn't want to hear that.
Well, I was raised Catholic, so I suppose that would have some impact on me, that appeal.
I don't know if they would change my decision, but they would influence it just really because we are told, we are raised to trust in priests or Christianity, or at least that's how my upbringing was.
Let's imagine that the priest changes his tune and he comes back to see you. He sits down and he says that God says, "Thou shalt not kill." He says that to detach from Nina before she can live independently would be to murder her, and that murder is wrong. What would you say to that?
I would disagree that for me to murder someone, I would have to have chosen that in the first place. I've just been put in a situation that I didn't ask for.
Well, it would make me feel pretty angry because there's an accusation wrapped up in the term that, you know, I have an obligation to keep her alive. And I suppose you tell people they have to do something and they don't want to do it, you know. So it would make me pretty angry, yeah.
I'd like you to imagine that because of Nina's notoriety in the public eye, her case has got a lot of attention. And the government decides that the detachment procedure ought to be made illegal. They say that Nina's right to life is greater than your right to autonomy. So you have to lie in the bed with her for the full 10 months, meaning your decision to detach yourself is taken away. How would you feel about that?
Yeah, that'd make me feel awful. What do you mean? Like, yeah, take away my choices. It's like the only thing I have if I'm lying in a bed for 10 months.
Just because government thinks they can say they do that, I would actually probably disconnect myself. I just get out of bed. That would be awful. That would be really. There's no way that There's no way that a government should dictate moral values in that way.
What if a family member came to the hospital and mentioned they heard of a doctor who's working illegally to provide the detachment procedure to patients like you, and they say they can facilitate this? Would you be interested?
Mm-hmm. I would do, yes. I would definitely.
I'd be interested, I'd want the option. I don't know if I would take it because I would still be condemning someone to death. But I would want to know I have the option, yeah, for sure.
What if a family member suggested travelling abroad to a country where the detachment procedure is legal? Would you be interested in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% would move to give myself that choice. Definitely.
I'd like you to imagine that after you supported Nina for 6 months, she unfortunately passes away. How do you think you'd feel about her death?
I feel like crying.
You feel like crying?
Yeah,
Really?
a little bit.
A mixture of huge relief, frustration that it was all for naught, and also sadness that this person has died, presumably quite young.
I would hope that I would be relieved, but I would be too tired. I don't know if I'd have that drive to pursue my dreams after that.
But I wouldn't want any attention on it, That'd be the worst.
Thank you for answering my questions. This part of the interview is now over. If we could cut, and you can follow me. What do you think the previous interview was about?
The way I read it or heard it, it was about pressure. I think being given a choice, but not really.
What I feel about the future and what's coming up in my life. Because it really made me reconsider every aspect of it, of my life.
I guess it's about how you make decisions and moral decisions. And if you're put in situations where you have to make a decision which you didn't choose to be in, and how much do we value the life of another human being, right?
What if I told you that it was about all of those things, but it's also about abortion?
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I get it. I get the analogy. Interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking of my mother, the abortions and the miscarriages she's had, the tough decisions she's had to make when she had me and my brother.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but in what ways? And how is it?
I'm going to show you a video of the actress who played Nina explaining the concept behind the film.
Hello, I played Nina in your interview. The concept for this film is based on Judith Jarvis Thomson's paper, A Defense of Abortion. In the paper, Jarvis Thomson suggests that if you woke up in a hospital to discover that you are back-to-back with a dying violinist, and the violinist's survival rests on the borrowed use of your kidneys, you would not be obligated to remain attached to the violinist. Jarvis Thomson argued that although it would be very nice of you to support them, you are under no moral obligation to keep the violinist alive. In the same way, women are not obligated to have a child if they become pregnant. That's her defense of abortion.
What do you think of that?
Wow. That it makes sense. It's yeah, that was not my first thought, like I mentioned, but that explains it so clearly.
What aspects of the analogy do you think are successful?
Well, as a dude, as a man, imagining myself, being a kind of having this person attached to me like a parasite is kind of interesting. It's not a headspace I've put myself in very often, to be honest.
And it's also similar in terms of, I think, if you lose the baby, the whole grieving process you would go through, and the sense of loss, the sense of a life and what it could become, in the same way as a violinist can become, or a musician can become something wonderful.
I just found myself a lot of the things that I was weighing in my head, thinking about, and realized very quickly that, there's a lot of the things that pregnant women have to reconcile with when they find out they're pregnant.
Anything that isn't comparable to abortion?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is very different, because the whole time I'm in there, I was thinking, what the fuck? I signed up to a medical trial, now I'm like attached to a human being for this long.
I'm sitting there because a government body or some AI made a mistake, and I had no choice in that. There was at no point was any choice in whether I could actually even be considered for that thing, right? So there was no choice in the point at which the mistake was made, which I think there is in abortion, unless it's rape or non-consensual.
In a way, ending the life of someone who is already an adult, already has relationships, has people that rely on them, has a career, has friends, that's kind of harder to do than a fetus.
No, in my opinion, I don't think, fetuses, like before they are born, are the same as like a fully grown, adult woman who's been playing the violin or the piano for like however long. You know what I mean? There's very different things.
A mother is different from a stranger, isn't it? So I guess there's a different connection there. And I think that in my case, if I walked away, it's a stranger and I left it. But my partner who has had an abortion, she still feels guilt and regret. I think it's a kind of different option because that person has to live that.
The fact that she's an adult woman who had a chance at life, that's the only thing. But, it's not enough to dismiss the whole analogy. It's not even enough to say it's something that doesn't work about it. Like, again, it's an analogy. It's meant to just represent the issue at hand.